God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. This truth is proof positive of open theism. Why should 1 John 1:5 be proof positive of open theism? Well, what do we mean by open theism? Open theism means that there are things that God does not know, and therefore learns about. He is not cognizant of these things. This means God's omniscience is limited to all that is knowable. There is a range of things that are not known by God and cannot be known by God until they come about. This makes his foreknowledge less complete than all he knows of what is past or present. Okay, let's rephrase the question. How is 1 John 1:5 proof positive that there is a limit to what God can know? Simple. If God is light, and in him is no darkness at all, then darkness is not part of his being whatsoever. Since darkness is about evil, and not the lack of photons or physical light, this is significant. How? Simple. When God created, he could only create from and out of himself. What does that mean? This means that of all his immediate creation, none contained any form of evil in it whatsoever, since there is none in God. So that evil's beginnings, and any evil, was not something from God, or indeed can be something by God. Remember, God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. This means evil and its practice did not and does not come from God. So the practice of evil, as it began to occur due to the free choices of separate living beings, these are the things that God never knew anything about. As they began to occur, God learnt about the practice of evil. This is to do with the will of free beings made by God to choose. The two kinds of being we learn about in the Bible that have this ability in their created makeup are angels and men. The alternative view is to believe that God planned evil and thereby understood darkness, that he has always understood and known wickedness. If God always knew wickedness, then to say there is no darkness in God would be false. So that we know that 1 John 1:5 is proof positive of open theism. So, what is the first thing that God learned? It was the discovery of the first person who chose to do other than God had planned or willed, something contrary to God's nature. And, probably, this is the passage that tells us of this first event. You were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on the holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of fiery stones. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created. No problem there. All things were created perfect. Then we read, till iniquity was found in you. Iniquity was found. It was discovered on this possible first occasion. Iniquity was not planned by God. It was not willed by him. Remember, it is explicit. This being was created perfect from the day he was created. Then, iniquity was found in him. So that we find from then on God testing the hearts of people. God tests, not to see what is already in that heart fully developed, but to see the will of the person produce what he chooses from that testing. So God can then know to judge righteously, or be able to trust and use that person fully. Here is the example of God doing this to King Hezekiah. God withdrew from him in order to test him, that he might know all that was in his heart. Conclusion. In this video you have seen explicit quotes from the Bible of God desiring to acquire knowledge, of discovering knowledge, and of having no knowledge. He is acquiring knowledge in 2 Chronicles 32:31. He discovers knowledge in Ezekiel 28:15. He had no knowledge in 1 John 1:5. That is, he knew not of darkness as practice before creation, as there was none in existence. 1 John 1:5 is proof positive of open theism. What does the Calvinist say to all this? He says, this is not so. God created both good and evil. He plans both and does both. Then he quotes, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create calamity. I, the Lord, do all these things. However, the nature of God is forgotten by the Calvinist, and how he always works in righteousness. By forming the light, the precedent, then as any object gets in the way, darkness occurs. That is to say, shadow is created. Not only is this not about evil, physical light is in view, but nevertheless we see a parallel in that in creating beings that are free, God has allowed for evil by the person objecting to the light of God, and thus darkness is created. But this is not the same as God planning that darkness or desiring it. And here is the Calvinist stumbling block. In choosing to elevate God's sovereignty over his actual nature and practice of righteousness, the Calvinist mind is in line with the accuser, Satan, who desires all to dishonor God and blame him for all the evil in the world. God is the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or shadow of turning. God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. Hallelujah.